Thank you. Thank you very much to the Atlantic Council and the Ukraine Crisis Media Center. And it's a great privilege to try to make some concluding remarks to such a substantial debate. So just a short point that the role of the ICRC is to protect and assist in a neutral, independent, and impartial way persons affected by armed conflict and situation of violence. And to that end, we take direct action, particularly in emergencies, but in parallel, we strive to promote preventive measures, notably by ensuring full respect of the obligation by the authorities and by non-state actors in accordance with international humanitarian law and with the relevant bodies of law. IDPs have always been a group of particular concern for the ICRC, and we have defined an operational and comprehensive approach to meet the humanitarian needs of both displaced persons and local and host communities. Being present on both sides of the contact line in the Donbass with a very large humanitarian operation, it is imperative for us to be close to the people, to understand their needs and be accountable to them, rather than imposing solutions. In Ukraine, the situation is quite complex, and IDPs remain highly vulnerable. While the Ukrainian authorities have made considerable efforts to create mechanisms and find solutions to address these vulnerabilities, solutions are not always easy, and comprehensive response is still lacking. Let me stress 8 issues of concern which were raised during this afternoon and which need solutions. The first one, the conflict is ongoing. The needs are more increasing than decreasing. Many people are exhausted by this situation, and the impressive resilience of many Ukrainians is reaching limits. The challenge to communicate about the plight of the people directly affected by the conflict, notably IDPs. 3, the importance that humanitarian assistance, in accordance to the principles of neutrality, impartiality, and independence, can reach the people in need wherever they are. 4th, IDPs are victims. Displacement was originally not a choice, but was imposed by unexpected circumstances. Wherever they live, IDPs must be seen as citizens or parts of the regular population of Ukraine with the same rights as non-displaced Ukrainians. Non-discrimination must be a key principle for all issues related to IDPs. 5, it is important that a comprehensive policy regarding IDPs and covering their current needs and future integration be adopted. In particular, that the strategy under discussion be endorsed by the government. It's also very important to provide enough resources to institutions in charge of IDPs, in particular starting with the Ministry of Temporary Occupied Territories and IDPs. 6, it's crucial also to remove obstacles which prevent IDPs to move towards durable solutions. Finding durable solutions to their problems, including financial compensation and responses to the housing, social, economic, and job problems is not always easy, but it is central. 7, it is important to avoid creating artificial IDPs, in particular by linking pension rights and social payments to IDP status. All Ukrainians should have access to their pension in the same way. Pensioners who are IDPs should not face more demanding procedures than others. 8, the importance of interconnectivity between Ukrainians, between non-controlled governmental areas and government-controlled areas. IDPs and family links are an important component of this interconnectivity. Close to 1 million people are going on a monthly basis through the crossing points. Long waiting time, and they have to face long waiting time and very difficult climate conditions. It is critical to continue efforts to accelerate movement and improve the conditions at the crossing point. So I thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Please give him a hand. Thank you so much for that very, very concise summary. Now, please help me welcome our final concluding speaker, Mr. Pablo Mateu. Yeah. It's not on. It's not on.
It's not on? Okay.
Try that.
Yes, I think it is. No, thank you very much. And I think after this very comprehensive summary of the discussions, I don't have much to say. But I would like to concentrate on two issues. The first one is the messaging. I would like to thank the Atlantic Council and the other organizers of this event, but sometimes I have the feeling that we are preaching to the converted, right? And we have to maybe make better efforts to communicate to others. But this is a bit difficult because on the one hand, we want to convey the good stories, right? The integration of IDPs in certain areas. But at the same time, there are outstanding humanitarian needs. So how do you do that? The other challenge is a lot of European governments would like to talk a lot about the success of some of the reforms in Ukraine, and they feel that talking about the IDPs and the humanitarian side of the equation may detract from their efforts to convince European governments that Ukraine is a success story and that people should come here and invest. So the messaging is something that I think we all need to reflect on to see how we can get better at that. The second issue, and I'm very glad that your very good paper and many of the speakers spoke about, is durable solutions. I think the time has come for us to give that the necessary attention, but also we have to start putting our money where our mouth is when it comes to durable solutions. All of us, the donors, the international organizations, the NGOs, and the Ukrainian government in particular. For example, if we look at the 2008, the proposed 2018 state budget, it's difficult to see where the money or the resources for durable solutions will come from. If we look at the budget lines that are meant to help IDPs, it's basically for assistance. There's very little money that will actually go to solutions. For example, social and affordable housing is a big need for IDPs, and it has been mentioned here several times. UNHCR is trying to work with the German bank KfW and with the Ministry of Temporarily Occupied Territories and IDPs on this. But if we look at the state budget for 2018, what they have put in there for social housing is peanuts, right? So again, we have to make sure that the resources are there. There is no money whatsoever in the state budget for compensation for property. We have families in eastern Ukraine whose houses have been occupied by the Ukrainian army for reasons that we know, right? These people should get some compensation. There's also no increase foreseen in the budget for pensions. And I'm sorry to tell you, but your figures are wrong in the report. It is now more than 500,000 retirees who have lost their pensions. It's close to 600,000 by now. Probably when you wrote your very good report that it was lower. But there's no money in the state budget to increase pensions. So that means that a lot of these people will still remain without pensions. There's also it's difficult to see in the budget what will go for recovery in the East. And, we're all talking about the need to make sure that Eastern Ukraine gets attention in terms of recovery, but the allocated resources are not necessarily there. And finally, whatever is going to the Ministry of Temporarily Occupied Territories and IDPs is extremely low. It's not enough. We have spoken about the need to have a dedicated ministry that coordinates the support to IDPs, but also other efforts related to eastern Ukraine and Crimea, and yet, you know, what they are going to give this ministry is really, it's not enough. So thank you very much, and thank you for this good effort to get us all together here and discuss very important issues for the future of this country. Thank you.
So we have a lot of work to do. Let us go back to our offices, to our families, to our communities with a renewed commitment to this issue. I think you've heard, I think Maxime is right that IDPs here are incredible, they're resilient, they are changing things, but let's help them and let's continue to put the pressure on in the various places that we've discussed. Thank you so much for joining us. Could you please help me put your hands together, this is how we do it in America, and thank the Ukraine Crisis Media Center for its incredible hospitality. Thank you so much.